Right. So just sit comfortably in your chair. Give yourself a few moments to arrive and settle in. Do that by just gently gathering your attention into your body, aware of how you're sitting, how you're feeling, without at this point thinking in terms of maybe trying to change anything. Just starting point is where you are. Once. Maybe aware of your breathing if that helps. Rubbing your hands together, palm of your hand, fingers a bit warmer, and then pads of your fingers tapping over your face. Just trying to leave your jaw a bit loose. And then work up over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder, your arm. Then on the other side. The upper part. Your belly. And coming back to just sitting and being a little bit aware of your posture, and this time just bringing in an intention to make some changes if appropriate. You're looking for a posture where you feel supported, where you feel your body's supporting itself. And obviously, the chair is supporting you, but ideally, you would be sitting quite forward in your chair and tilt your pelvis forwards a little bit so that if you imagine a square with your feet and your hips at the corners, your weight and your head try to move towards the middle of that square rather than being on the edges. Of course, if your back starts to ache, then do sit back in the chair or maybe use a cushion behind you to give yourself extra support. The shoulders drop a little bit. Try and get a feeling of your hips sinking in to the chair. And just see if you can allow the big muscles of your back and shoulders, your chest to release a little bit, to soften so that you're not straining in those muscles to maintain your position. We often talk in Tai Chi of holding a particular posture, a particular position. I think in many ways it's more appropriate to think of it the other way around, that your posture, the structure is actually supporting you. So trying to get away from the idea that we have to somehow strain, do something extra, simply to be supported in a reasonable position. Position of your weight is important because if, say, for instance, I'm sitting right back and most of my weight's in my hips, I get a feeling of being pulled back and I'm automatically going to strain against that. So this helps to just release some of the tightness in our bodies. May begin to feel that within your body, thinking of to begin with the skeleton, there's this structure, this strength that continues to support you without that tightness and stiffness. And that gives a certain amount of space for movement. So moving within that space, just gently turning your head. So moving as far as you can without feeling that you have to push against your own body. Even if that's quite a small movement, once you've started to move, flow of your blood, the energy, just the dynamics of the movement will almost certainly begin to just push those boundaries out a little bit, that you haven't to strain against them. Put your hands in front of your shoulders and circle your elbows. So, in general, I would say with any of these movements, starting quite small, and then just it's reasonable to try and extend the range of your movement. It's as though the movement's sort of growing into the space that's available. Then we come back the other way. And in particular, in those stages of the movements of releasing, letting go, dropping down. So when your elbows drop down, for instance, seeing if once again you can just allow some of the tightness and stiffness that builds up to release. Hands out to your sides, elbows slightly bent, as though you've got a sort of a post or pillar either side of you, and palms facing inward, but then rotating your arms so your palms will just slide around the post. From the side, you can see that my arm hangs more or less straight down from my shoulder, but because the elbow's bent a bit, the curve takes the hand out and then back. Your hands up, winding your arms around. They were winding up, cotton and wool thread. A smooth action. And the movement in the shoulders, your elbows, wrists. With the ideal ratio of your weight distribution in this sitting posture is to have about 70% of your weight back in your hips and buttocks, about 30 in. But then you think of your pelvis as being almost like sort of a rocking chair. Tilt your pelvis forwards. So now more of your weight will go forwards into your feet. Don't go too far, and then push back. So your head moves forwards, but not beyond your knees. That extra weight going into your legs compresses them a little bit, and then expand, feet pressing down into the floor, and back. Same thing, pressing down to your hips, and then expansion. So that sinking of your hips, that rocking of your center of gravity, and rooting down, has several aspects to it that are useful to us. One, of course, is always, and this is really important, if you like, the physical aspect, is that your center of gravity drops, and that takes extra weight away from the upper part of your body and gives you more stability, which is obviously going to be more noticeable staying there. But another very important aspect is that downward movement in the way it compresses certain parts of the body, which then expand, actually initiates this very important dynamic cycle, energetic cycle, downwards and upwards. Feel that upward movement like a wave coming up through your body. So giving yourself a moment each time to really settle in, to feel the contact with the ground through the soles of your feet and chair through your hips. Turn just a little bit. Now, weight going more to one side. Trying to feel the contrast between the leg that you're moving into, which we would describe as the full leg, and the other leg, which we would describe as end. These are not absolute terms. Change direction. The moment where having the intention that the expansion of your leg that lies in energy pushes you back. This time you want it to push you across to the opposite foot, and then when you settle into that leg back, you settle in that side of your body is where your hips push you across, settle in, back. So you could think of this as being in 8 stages. 4 of them are clear stages with the transfer of the weight. 4 of them are just the kind of hidden stages. So this moment of allowing your weight to drop just a little bit more. And then back the other way. So you're trying to root down at each stage through the hip or the foot. And this brings out another aspect of the rooting down, which is it helps us just to quieten our attention. Rather than feeling this, I've got to move on, I've got to move on, sense of rushing. It's just this moment of stillness via processing. Come back to that central position. Push one heel up. Extend your foot, put your heel down, lower the ball of your foot, gently push the foot. Planting the foot. To do that, you'll find that you need to release tightness in your leg from your hip right down into your ankle. And again, that creates a certain amount of space in your leg. So this time, tilt forward so your weight follows planting of the foot. Be really clear about this. You want to place the foot, you want to press in the plant before you start to move your weight, giving precedence to the placement of your foot and then the movement. Change sides. First of all, what we would call an empty step. It's not a long step. Don't overstep. This time, following with your weight. One more time. And then do this exercise alternating from one side to another. So there'll be a slight shift of your weight across. It's like turning you in your body. Then don't hurry. Just familiarizing yourself with sensations and actions in really an everyday act, or almost every minute, then whenever we move around, we're using our feet and our legs, transferring the weight. So, hands drop down, turning your hands so that they're palm forwards again, combining the transfer of the weight with this earlier rotating exercise. This is bird posture. Carry on doing it with both hands. I can only use one arm because of the back of the chair. And if you look at my arm, my hand, it's not swinging forwards. My body's tilting forwards, my shoulders going forwards, my arm is hanging from my shoulder. So what's moving my arm is a combination of this rotation and transfer of my weight. The overall feeling all the way through in our arms is often described as being quiet. This is quite a good exercise to try and get that feeling into your mind and to establish it as one of the intentional qualities that we want to bring into these. This time, hands stay palm facing back, going into the fisherman cast net. And there's a very, very slight, almost invisible delay. My legs expand, that pushes my shoulders back, and then the arm starts to move. That is good. Doesn't swing past my hips until I'm back in the upright position. I go forwards, and as I settle into my feet, that my arms start. So it's basically this feeling that your arm is able to swing loosely from the shoulder. The effort in the shoulder is not to create the movement, but to allow the arm to swing, to release tightness, to release the restrictions that we begin to notice are holding the arms back. An image that is helpful for this is a movement because the density of the water will naturally hold your arms back a little bit. But when they follow on, they won't have to stiffen up straight. Try not to tighten up in shoulders, your elbows, wrists. And this time, noting the angle of your arm compared to your body, maintain that angle, come back so that pulls your hands up, then let your elbows drop. And forwards again. Imagine your arms are draped over a ball and you're sitting back not to lift your arms, but to put the ball in. Again, maintaining that quiet quality. When we're able to maintain that quieter quality, when the arms are less busy, it generally means that our minds are less busy, and we're able to notice other effects in the body. And in particular, this feeling that as our legs expand after being compressed, creates an upward movement like a wave coming up through your body, through your belly, into your chest, coming up underneath your arms. So they start to be lifted up. But again, it's important to realize what we're not doing is trying to lift the arms. We're just feeling the movement, feeling the energy, and letting that move our arms forward. It's not resisting that. And this is, again, a quality that we want to try and maintain through all of the exercises. It's not always this obvious, but once we've felt it in one movement, we have a greater chance of being able to build it into others. It becomes, once again, This time, as you come back, turning your hands palm in, and that wave now expanding outwards, sideways, as well as upwards, pushing your arms away, and then pressing them back in. It's a little bit more active, this one, perhaps, than the previous exercises, particularly on that contracting stage. There's an intention to press it, almost like if you, another image, if you imagine you've got a sort of soft ball between your arms, and then as you go forward, the intention is to press that ball in, to squeeze it in. It's pigeon process. Notice sensations in the chest and your upper back. Maybe still using that image, moving through water, if that works here. And then this time, same sort of feeling, smaller, because you want your hands to stay in front of your hips, turning them palm forwards. You go forwards, chest contracts, bringing your elbows in, your arms, your hands press forwards and kind of pushing one. Once again, I'm not lifting my arms. I'm not getting to here and lifting my arms up and pushing them up. If you look at the shape that the arm takes, as I go forwards, my shoulders pushing my elbow forwards, and it's this kind of movement, the shape of the arm and the shoulders, but there's a curve upwards. Giving you a slightly stronger feeling, a more compact, more economic movement than the previous few, but with the same amount of energy. And then we're going to combine this with the step in that we did earlier. So this time, come back, settle into one side, turn your body towards that foot, heel, all of the foot, planting the foot, and then the weight. Try and again be very particular about that order. Change sides. You'll probably find there's a really strong urge to sort of push before your foot's in position. This is very normal. One of the things that we learn to do in Tai Chi is to give precedence again to our feet. Not necessarily always in daily life with this sense of precision, but just we want to build the habit that whenever we want to move our upper body, we want to make sure that our feet are in a position to offer the support that it needs. Whether that be just sort of mechanical support or the sense of the weight sinking down, sense of space, weight to move. Here you see I part the foot, and only when the foot is in position do I go forward. Once again, not rushing this. Planting the foot. So again, this does actually help to just create this sense of stillness in our minds, calmness. This time, back, make a loose fist. Now, my hands don't rise up, and moving forwards. Here my arm rotates, my elbow bends and it pulls back in front of my hip, it doesn't go behind me. So my weight moves forwards, my arm extends a little bit and rotates, my weight moves back, my elbow bends in towards my hip, my arm rotates to the hand. So this is always the sequence that we're looking for, described as being rooted in our feet, transmitted through our legs, guided through the center of the body, expressed in the heart of the body. As you go forwards, your hips are sinking back, so just feel that sense of gentle lengthening, extension through your back and your spine, followed by a contraction as you go back. Changing to winding back. Tell the arms wind around here. Come in. And then press. Letting your chest expand and open here. And then as you go forwards, chest contracting, upper back expanding sideways. Then upper back contracts so your shoulder blades are sliding together. We're beginning to become aware of the changes and patterns of movement in the upper part of our body that take the energy from that basic transfer of the weight. Turning your hands palm down. Turn to your left, knees forward, letting your hips drop back. Extending to your back, your arms and your fingers turning, contracting to your back and spine, through your arms. Just polishing the toe. Change direction. So for the most part, the movements in our feet and our legs and our weight are very straightforward and predictable. So long as we've got our feet in the correct position, you can once again, in the back of your mind, still that intention for your weight to move. So when your right foot, right leg expands, intention is go across to the left. And then when the left expands, go back into your left hip and so on and so forth. One more on each side, each direction. Then come back. Turning your hands palm. So there's a ball resting in your arms. Listen your weight sinking to your hips, your feet, both at the same time, so no longer alternating, feeling the expansion from your feet, from your hips, and that lengthening through your back and your spine. The wave rises up and then press it. The image of moving through water helps with this sequence of movements. We naturally use our body more as a whole unit when we meet that sort of resistance. We also are quite likely to cease to strain. So the image can help to develop all those sorts of qualities, action within our bodies. One more time. And then wild goose So again, this image associated with the name, the bird in flight, may offer some kind of quality, but this time going forwards, letting your hands swing in front of your knees, sit back into your hips and then expand in from the ground, from the chair, parting the clouds. Each image can have its own particular attributes. No image is ever going to tell the complete story, but we use a great deal of imagery to try and stimulate small responses within our bodies. Too small, really, for the sort of conscious thinking mind. So that we're not thinking, we're very much aware, trying to keep our thoughts gently focused within our bodies. Gradually feeling that these movements that take place, these changes that take place within the body, produce the bigger movements rather than the other way around. And then, letting your hands drop, this dragon plucks the star from the sky, focusing on one side of the body. Really, all of these processes of these interactions between mind and body and energy, changing size now. All of these processes are two-way, because it's very difficult to know what the internal movements are until you've started doing the movement. It's not something you can see simple. You might get the odd glimpse of it sometimes, but it's something that is felt. So with this one, for instance, as you push up, you can feel the extension through the side of your body. And one of the really important progressions, and one of the ongoing progressions in Tai Chi, is this shift in perspective from outside in to inside out. It's not that we're not concerned with the outer, but the source of the movement is within our bodies, our connection to the ground, ethers, and so on. And dragon plucks the stars from the sky one more time, each side. And these ideas and images feed into the whole movement in one way or another, some more than others. Bring both hands up, let the inside of your arm or hand lightly touch the area just in line with it, slightly above your hips. From that position, the whole body expanding and guiding your hands upwards. Again, as your body contracts. This time, with the expansion, you direct your hands sideways. That. I mentioned the image of moving through water. Another slightly stronger image, I feel, is that you imagine the elastic bands between your wrists, pushing hands out, extending the elastic band, and then resting it in the chest. And that elastic quality, that elastic tone in the movement, isn't a bad way of thinking of the tonal quality of all of the soft tissue. This time, as you push your hands out, extend one foot, just plant the heel, knees a little bit bent, turning your hands palm up, leading with the fingers, easing forwards, scooping the seat, hips dropping back, a little bit of a push from the other leg, expanding in the front of your body, looking at the sky, scooping the seat, looking at the sky. Your head goes towards your foot, won't reach that far, but it goes towards your foot. At the same time, your hips drop back, so again, this lengthening through your back and your spine. The weight staying mostly back. A little bit trickier, really using this exercise to look at how you can come to an upright position without having to stiffen with your back, with your shoulders, neck, or your arms. And then again, a loose fist in both hands going forwards in the expansion in the chest. And as that contracts, letting that bring the hands over. And then not dissimilar in that feeling and that interaction between your arms coming in and the chest contracting and then the back expanding. These are the same movements that were spotlighted when we did pigeon spreads its wings. This time there's more of an expansion through your sides and lengthening through your back. Change sides, starting again with pushing and casting. And last with the toes. Good. Then, rubbing your hands together again, preparing to stand now. Making yourself up a little bit before you do. Starting on your face again. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder, arm. The other side. The upper part of the chest. Belly. Pushing your heels up with the extra tension to the feet and your legs before you try to use them to stand on. And circle. And back down. Okay. And then standing. Applying the same principles to the standing as we were exploring in the seated exercises. And so the first thing to think about is, where is your weight going to go? Remember, in the chair, we had this square with our feet and our hips at the corner. Now we have a much smaller space, which is basically the space defined by our feet. So have your feet hip width apart and just sort of shuffle your weight forwards and backwards in your feet a little. feeling the change. And when I go a long way back in my heels, I fall over or I stiffen up or I take a step and so on. And also just a little bit of a movement from side to side, the body swaying slightly. And again, if I go too far across here, I disappear. And then combining the movements so that you're just swing around, you're pivoting from your ankles. I exaggerate a, a little bit. So here I can feel my weight in my toes, and it goes to the edges of my foot, back into my heels, and then to the opposite edges. I'm exaggerating, which is why that happened. So it's quite a small movement. Change direction every now and then. And then when you've done this a few times, like water spiraling down a plug hole, just making the movement smaller so that you spiral inwards in your weight and sort of arrive at this point of what I would call a point of equilibrium, a point of stability. And then letting your hips drop back. Now, normally, what would happen if I simply drop my hips back, but nothing else changed, then that would happen because that would change the whole alignment of body. But as I drop down, I can release tightness in my belly, my lower back. That allows gravity to pull my hips down, and my pelvis just adjusts. So I begin to maintain that sense of equilibrium as I move up and down. My center of gravity drops down through my feet rather than pulling me over. Once again, rooting down and bringing your hands in. Again, remember, precedence goes to feet and legs. So you can think of this in stages. Stage one, your legs expand, your feet are pushed down into the ground. Stage two, the hips are pushed up. Stage three, your back lengthens and your shoulder is pushed up. And stage four, your hands come up. Going downwards, almost the opposite. First of all, you release in the hips, you let the hips drop down, then the shoulders drop, and then the hands follow. Now, obviously, it's more flowing than that. Those stages will overlap a little bit, but it's really important that we're aware, particularly what the first stage or two is. It's to do with legs expanding, feet being pushed down, hips being pushed up, and then the lengthening through your back and spine, followed by your arms. So again, this idea that the energy, or that one of the principal energies that moves our body in these arts is initiated with this sense of allowing gravity to pull our hips down, rooting down. Other movements take place. Breathing is a form of movement. Circulation is a form of movement. There's all sorts of energetic responses within the body. But this kinetic energy downward with the pull of gravity, upwards from the resilience of the legs is very primal, very primary in Tai Chi. Turning your hands so things are pointing away, wild goose. And then parting. And 1 foot forwards, maintaining the width of your step. Notice you can see the background between my legs, about the same in length. And once again, using the ground. We do this quite naturally anyway. You know, if you've ever tried to walk on ice, you'll soon realize how crucial the contact with the ground is for your movement. Well, what we're doing is bringing a stronger attention and a stronger intention to this very natural process. It's a very vital process. If you've ever watched an athletics meeting, you would easily find them online these days. You'll notice if you look at the sprint races, you know, with 100 meters or something like that, they're really down there and they really use their legs. Their legs are very bent, and then they launch themselves forwards. Essentially, we're doing the same thing, except we're not about to run 100 meters. We're keeping the body upright, but we're still using that sinking down through our hips into our feet, rooting down, and the response from the legs, which is to push back up, as the principal initiator of the movement. Just be aware that you may want to do this. And in everyday walking, that might be appropriate, so long as we remember our feet at the same time. But what we're really emphasizing here is when you go into your back foot, gently raise your toes. You have the front foot turned out a little bit. Go forwards, push your back knee in so your heel comes up. You'll notice when I do that, I shift a little bit more, gradually bringing my upper body and my head into line above my supporting foot, allowing my center of gravity to drop down, rooting down, and then bring your foot in. And once again, extend out, heel, forward of the foot, plant, let the weight come. When it's the backward step, it's the board of the foot that goes down first, and then your heel, and then your plant. This is just a simple extension, traction in your leg. Shouldn't require you to stiffen up or tighten in your back or your shoulders. It helps you to maintain a sense of stability and equity. Shake out. Of your other foot. You can imagine doing this in water. You can imagine the pressure of the water against the front of your body and then against the back, feeling that flow, that change in tone of the body from front to back, back to front as you do that. And that can help you to feel what is happening, particularly in the upper part of the body. Again, these very subtle changes, the flow of the energy. So again, heel coming up, toes coming up. Notice whether, as you do this, and this is very common, that as my toes come up, sometimes people lean over, but that will just cause you to lose your stability. To sink down in. Then stepping in and out, planting your foot. Giving yourself a moment to really settle in. And more than a moment, more than one moment. You plant the foot, you move the weight, you settle in, you raise the toes, you bring the foot in, you give yourself a chance to settle again, and so on. So this is a constant background intention idea, giving us both the physical stability and also helping to cultivate that quietness in. Take a few steps through, forwards or backwards, depending on where you have your. Don't rush. So we're paying attention to details that we're hoping to bring into our daily activities. And obviously, change direction now. Yeah, we don't walk this slowly, mostly. We're sort of going down the shops or. But we learn to cultivate these ideas, these principles, intentions, and then they just naturally, in one way or another, in both mind and body, spill over into it. So, left foot forwards, mirror like this. And as though you're moving through water, fisherman casting. Again, go forwards, I settle into the front foot, and that's when my arms swing. I go back, I settle into the back. Now, those sensations of movement, of energy in the upper part of the body, extended out into our arms and our hands and our fingers. Fisherman cast the net. When you come back this time, turn, so you draw your hands across your body. Same idea, but with the turn, swing through. Almost as though you're training your fingers through water. It's the curve in your fingers, and this time, let that swing up, no higher than your shoulders going forwards. Drawing your hands down, cross the front hip, turn out a little bit. Imagine the shape in front of you like a sideways figure of 8 or an infinity sign. Just have this sense of your body, and in particular your arms and your hands, flowing through that shape. Still taking the time to settle. As I settle into my back foot, I feel that expansion that pushes my arms up. Same thing. Knee, shake out. Have your left foot forwards and start in the same way, pushing past the net. Turning. Feeling as your arms swing upwards a little bit here, that expansion in the side of your body. Building on that into the figure of 8. And we're going to combine this with the stepping. So again, I'm going to go forwards, but depends where you have the room. Turn my front foot out, and as my arms get pushed up, that's when I bring my foot in. Step, plant the foot. And maybe just raising your knee. If you find that throws your posture off and you start to wobble around, keep the toes down. I'm going to change direction. I crash into the camera. One more time. Got room. Very repeat. Go back to your chair. Finishing with our usual exercise, embrace tiger, return to mountain, really emphasizing this releasing feeling, this sense of just settling each time, which is such a key element in the movement, the stillness within the movement, and really one of the great benefits of the art, I feel. So coming back to your sitting posture, your hands drop down, hips and feet sinking into the chair and feeling that push up, pushing your arms out. But then yielding, letting go in your hips, your shoulders, your arms, bringing your hands around to the squeezing the ball in, and then just a moment resting until you feel that push up. Race tiger. Return to one more time. And fantastic. Thank you very much. Please get in touch with any comments or any questions. But other than that, just enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, everybody.